I've lived alone for the past 3 years in a small one-bedroom apartment on the 5th floor of a building that's older than it looks. It's not fancy, peeling paint in the stairwell, that persistent smell of old carpet, but it's mine. Quiet, tucked away in a corner with no neighbors above me. That's what I liked most. The silence. The solitude. But lately, that solitude has started to feel occupied. It started small. Stupid things. I'd come home from work and find a glass on the counter I didn't remember using. Or the remote sitting on the arm of the couch instead of the coffee table where I always leave it. Minor, easy to dismiss stuff. I chalked it up to stress, long hours at work, poor sleep, and probably just being careless. But then came the door. I have a habit. Always lock the bathroom door before bed. Not out of fear, just routine. I do it without thinking, like brushing my teeth. But one morning last week, I woke up and the door was cracked open. Not just unlocked, open. I stood there for a solid minute, staring at it, trying to convince myself I forgot. That maybe I got up in the middle of the night, used the bathroom, and just didn't shut it. I didn't remember getting up. That's when I started sleeping with a knife on my nightstand. I didn't tell anyone. Who would I even tell? Hey, I think my toothbrush moved 3 inches and my bathroom door opens itself at night. Yeah, no thanks. People already think I'm a little tightly wound. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something in my apartment had shifted. Like, the air itself felt different. The quiet wasn't comforting anymore. It was watching. Then last night, something new happened. I was lying in bed, half asleep, when I heard it. Footsteps. Light ones. Padded. Like bare feet on carpet. Coming from the living room. I froze. I don't have pets. I don't have a roommate. I didn't even move. Just lay there, staring at the ceiling, every muscle locked. Then nothing. Silence. No more steps. No door opening. No sound of someone leaving. Eventually I got up. Kitchen was empty. Living room empty. Front door locked. I even checked the windows, 5th floor locked tight. Still, I barely slept the rest of the night. And today at work, I ordered 3 indoor security cameras. 1 for the living room. 1 for the hallway. And 1 for my bedroom. They arrive tomorrow. The cameras arrived around 3 p.m. the next day. I left work early, lied and said I had food poisoning. Truth is, I couldn't concentrate anyway. My mind kept replaying those footsteps. The sound was so specific. Not creaky floorboards or settling pipes. Actual footsteps. Real weight behind them. When I got home, I tore into the package like it was Christmas morning. Setup was easy. I mounted one on the living room bookshelf, pointing toward the front door and couch. Another in the narrow hallway, giving a view of the bathroom and bedroom doors. The third one I placed on my dresser, angled toward my bed. I even labeled the feeds, front view, hall eye, bed watch. They all connected to an app on my phone. I tested them out by walking through each room, waving my arms like an idiot to make sure they picked up motion. They worked flawlessly. That night, I didn't sleep much. Not because of fear exactly, more like anticipation. I lay there with the lights off, staring into the soft glow of the camera's status light on the dresser, listening to every tick of the baseboard heater. No footsteps. No movement. Nothing. But still, I checked the footage the next morning like my life depended on it. All 3 feeds clear. Just me getting into bed, tossing and turning, getting up to pee at 3:11 a.m., and finally falling into some kind of sleep around 4. I felt a mix of relief and something like embarrassment. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe it really was just stress. But then... Day 2. That night, I went through the same routine. Brushed my teeth. Checked all the locks. Double-checked the cameras. Lay in bed, wide awake, watching the hallway through the crack in my door. At some point, I must have passed out. And in the morning, half awake, eyes still crusty, I pulled up the app on my phone. Started with front view. Nothing unusual. TV screen glowed faintly in the dark for a bit. I must have forgotten to turn it off, but no movement. Switched to bed watch. Just me tossing around. Then I clicked Hall I. Scrubbed through to around 2:46 a.m. That's when I thought I heard something. A faint shuffling. And my thumb froze on the screen. The hallway, dimly lit by a nightlight I always keep on, was empty at 2:46. But at 2:47, a figure appeared. No door opened. No sound. Just one frame empty. Next frame, someone was standing in the hallway. I dropped the phone. Literally, it slipped out of my hand and hit the bedsheet with a thud, bouncing once before landing screen up beside me. I just stared at it, heart pounding, unable to move. My brain was still trying to deny what I'd seen. I told myself it was a glitch. A compression artifact. A lighting trick. But I knew what I saw. Hands trembling, I picked up the phone and rewound the footage by a few seconds. Paused. Hit play. One frame at a time. 2 hours 46 minutes and 58 seconds, empty hallway. 2 hours 46 minutes and 59 seconds, still empty. 2 hours and 47 minutes, a figure. Just there. Standing halfway between my bedroom door and the bathroom. No blur, no transition. Like it blinked into existence. My breath caught. I zoomed in. It was hard to make out much in the low light, but the figure was definitely human. Tall. Slender. Wearing something loose, maybe a long shirt or gown. Hair hanging down, obscuring the face. It didn't move for 10 solid seconds. Just stood there, facing my bedroom door. My door. Me. I stared at the screen, frozen in disbelief. Then, finally, the figure moved. 2 hours 47 minutes and 11 seconds, it tilted its head. Slightly. 2 hours 47 minutes and 14 seconds, it took a single step forward. 2 hours 47 minutes and 16 seconds, another. And then, 2 hours 47 minutes and 18 seconds, it was gone. Next frame, the hallway was empty again. I scrubbed back and forth, over and over. I even checked the other camera feeds to see if they'd caught it from a different angle, but front view didn't show anything. Bedwatch didn't either, at least, not directly. Just me, asleep on my side, completely oblivious. I don't remember the exact moment I realized I was crying. It wasn't sobbing. Just tears leaking out without me noticing, like my body didn't know how else to react. I sat on the edge of my bed, gripping the phone like it was the only thing tethering me to reality. Someone had been in my apartment. And they didn't come in. They appeared. I didn't go to work that day. I called in sick, again, which means I'm probably one more no-show away from being jobless, but I couldn't bring myself to care. Not after what I saw. All I could think about was that figure in the hallway. How close it was. How quietly it stood there. Watching my door like it was waiting for something. Like me. I spent the morning replaying the footage obsessively. Every flicker of motion. Every pixel shift. I even downloaded the raw video files to my laptop and ran them through a filter to try and brighten the image, maybe sharpen the figure's face. But even with all the adjustments, its features stayed frustratingly vague. A blur where a face should be. Almost like the camera couldn't quite focus on it. That alone made my skin crawl. By noon, I'd torn the apartment apart. Checked every cabinet. Every closet. Even took the vent covers off and shone a flashlight inside. Nothing. No signs of forced entry. No footprints. No hair. Not even a smudge on the floor where it had stood. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong with the apartment itself. Not haunted, not exactly, but like the walls weren't entirely solid. Like there were spaces just outside of view, barely beyond the drywall, and something in them was starting to seep through. I know how that sounds. Believe me, I do. Around 3 p.m., I sat down on the couch, exhausted, eyes burning. I hadn't eaten anything. Barely drank water. I was thinking about calling someone, my sister maybe, or an old friend from college I hadn't spoken to in years. just to hear another voice. To tether myself to something outside this place. That's when I noticed it. The hallway camera light, it was off. My heart stuttered. I opened the app. Hallway was offline. I got up slowly, like sudden movement would make something worse. Walked to the hallway. The camera was still there, mounted exactly where I left it. I reached up, touched it. Cold. Unplugged. I didn't unplug it. There was no one else here. I stood there for what felt like hours, hands still on the camera, feeling the cord dangle uselessly in my fingers. My mind was racing, trying to calculate how, when, that cord could have been pulled out. I hadn't left the apartment. I hadn't even gone to the bathroom since breakfast. And the camera cord didn't just fall out. It was tucked in tight behind the bracket I screwed into the wall. So someone, or something, had to physically unplug it. While I was here. Awake. I forced myself to check the other two cameras. Front View and Bedwatch were still online. I pulled up the feed for both. Nothing. Just the grainy stillness of my apartment, frozen in quiet dread. The hallway footage was corrupted, probably from the abrupt shutdown. I couldn't recover anything useful from it. It was like a deliberate blind spot. And that's what terrified me most. That night, I made the stupid decision to stay again. I told myself I needed more footage. That I had to know what was going on. But honestly, I think some part of me was afraid to leave the apartment. As if whatever was in here might follow me. Or worse, might not be here when I got back. I rearranged the cameras. Moved Hallway to a higher position, zip-tied the cord in place, and taped over the plug so it couldn't be easily pulled out again. I added a fourth camera too, a cheap spare I had from an old baby monitor I never used. It pointed at my bedroom door from the outside, so I'd have two views of the hallway this time. One looking in, one looking out. Then I did something I haven't done since I was a kid. I shoved a chair under the doorknob. I slept with the light on. And still, sometime in the night, I woke up. To a sound. Not footsteps this time. A voice. Faint. Female. Whispering. Right outside the door. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone, it was like someone comforting a child. Low. Gentle. Almost humming. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just lay there, listening to that soft murmur as it came and went, for what felt like 10 straight minutes. When I finally opened the door in the morning, there was nothing there. But the hallway felt colder. And I swear on everything, I caught a scent. Just a hint of something sweet and rotten. Like lavender left too long in a drawer. I didn't check the footage right away. I couldn't. I sat on the edge of my bed with the sunlight bleeding through the blinds, staring at the open doorway like it had personally betrayed me. That whispering, it wasn't a dream. I felt it. The way the air thickened around it. The unnatural stillness that followed. Eventually, I worked up the nerve. Opened the app. First, Bedwatch. It showed me lying there still as stone. No tossing or turning this time, just frozen in place, exactly like I remembered. At 3:13 a.m., my head lifts slightly. I was awake. A minute later, front view shows nothing, same shadows, no movement. Then Hallway. I hit play, scrubbed to 3:14. There she was. The figure. Same one from before, I think. Still too blurry to see clearly. She was standing in front of my bedroom door. Head tilted. Hands at her sides. Facing me. What chilled me most wasn't her presence. It was what she did. She didn't try to open the door. She didn't reach for the knob or test the chair braced under it. She just stood there. And then, the door opened on its own. I replayed it 5 times, slower each round. There was no hand movement. No shift in weight. No sign of pressure. Just, the door creaked open. Like it was welcoming her in. But she didn't step inside. She leaned in, close to the crack, and tilted her head like she was listening to something. That's when the whispering started. I checked doorcam, the new one I'd mounted outside the bedroom door. Same moment, same movement. Her mouth moved. Barely. As if she was whispering right through the wood. To me. Then at 3:17, she stepped backward. And simply turned into the bathroom. That door closed behind her. And never opened again. Not all night. I couldn't go near the bathroom that morning. Not at first. I stood at the end of the hall, staring at the closed door like it was a loaded gun. It looked normal. White paint a little chipped, brass knob, no signs of anything out of place. But I knew. I had watched her go in there. And never come out. I tried to listen, pressed my ear to the door, holding my breath. Nothing. No water running, no shuffling, no whispering. But it didn't feel empty. Eventually, I did what I always do when I don't know how to deal with something. I left. I grabbed my keys, phone, wallet, and bolted. Drove aimlessly for almost an hour, just circling the outskirts of town with my windows down and the radio off. Every so often, I'd glance at the rearview mirror like I expected to see someone in the back seat. I didn't go to work. I didn't talk to anyone. Around 4 p.m., I finally forced myself to go back. Part of me hoped I'd come home to find the bathroom door open again. Like this had all just been a sleep-deprived hallucination. But it was still closed. Exactly as I'd left it. I stood there for a long time, hand hovering over the knob. I must have looked like a coward, frozen by a simple door, but my gut screamed at me not to open it. Not yet. So I did something else. I went back to the cameras and scrubbed forward in the footage. Every minute from 3:17 a.m. to 7 a.m. She never came out. I pulled up the live feed from Hall I and stared at the bathroom door through the lens. Waiting. Watching. Nothing. Finally, at 6:42 p.m., I hit record on my phone and, heart in my throat, I opened the bathroom door. It was empty. Totally, painfully normal. Toilet, sink, shower curtain drawn halfway open, small dusty mirror. No sign of anything, or anyone, ever having been there. But here's the thing. I always leave the shower curtain closed. Always. I stepped inside. The air felt colder. Damp, somehow, like someone had just taken a hot shower and the steam had clung to the walls before vanishing. I reached for the curtain, slowly pulled it back. Nothing. Just tile and shadow. But that's when I saw it. Written in the corner of the mirror, just above the fog line, where I hadn't breathed, hadn't even touched, was a single word, barely visible under the glare. Stay. I didn't touch the mirror. I couldn't. That word, stay, wasn't smeared with a finger. It wasn't etched or drawn in dust. It was subtle, like it had been written from the other side of the glass, barely there, only catching the light when I shifted slightly to the left. It made me feel like something was watching me through it. Like the mirror wasn't a reflection anymore. Just a window. I left the bathroom with my skin crawling and the taste of metal in my mouth, like fear had risen up from my stomach and settled on my tongue. That night I didn't sleep. Not even with the lights on. I sat in the living room, laptop open, every camera feed spread across my screen. I watched them like a security guard on the night shift. Hours ticked by in dead silence, interrupted only by the occasional groan of old pipes and the distant hum of traffic 5 floors below. At 2:28 a.m., front view flickered. Not motion. Not activity. The screen itself flickered. One brief second of static, and then it was back. I rewound. Watched it again. And that's when I noticed it. In that single second of distortion, just before the image cleared, someone was standing in the kitchen. I paused it. Zoomed in. This time it was a different figure. Shorter. No hair. Pale. Like bone pale. Their head was turned, as if listening to something in the far corner of the room, just beyond the camera's range. Then the next frame, nothing. Kitchen empty. It wasn't the same woman as before. This was someone else. Or something. I flipped to the hallway cam. No movement. But the camera inside my bedroom, bedwatch, lit up at 2:31 a.m. Motion detected. I held my breath and hit play. It showed me, still in the living room. Empty bed. Lights still on. But the blankets on the bed were shifting. Slowly. Like someone was crawling underneath them from inside. And the worst part? The shape that rose under the blanket wasn't person-sized. It was smaller. Almost childlike. Like something pretending to sleep there. I didn't move for a long time. Just sat there in the glow of the laptop screen, watching the outline rise beneath the covers. It shifted once, slow, unnatural. Like something getting comfortable. Then it stopped. Stayed still. I stared at that motionless lump under my blankets until my eyes burned. My chest felt tight. Shallow breaths. Cold sweat on my back. And even though I was in the living room, wide awake, every part of me was screaming, "Don't go in there." At 2:38 a.m., the shape under the blankets slowly deflated. Like air leaving a mattress. Not like something got up and left. Like it just sank into the bed. As if the weight of it bled away, molecule by molecule. I kept flipping through the feeds, back and forth, scanning for movement, distortion, anything. But everything after that point was static. Silent. At 3 a.m. sharp, every feed cut to black for 1 full second. Then came back online. No errors. No disconnects. No logs of interruption. But when the screens returned, something was different. Every single feed was shifted, just slightly. Like the angle had changed. Just a few degrees, barely noticeable unless you were looking for it. The camera in my bedroom was now facing a little more downward. The living room camera upward. And the hallway camera. It was tilted directly toward the mirror in the bathroom. I hadn't moved them. I hadn't been near them. I felt like I was being watched through my own surveillance. Like the cameras weren't just recording anymore. They were participating. By morning I was shaking. Drained. I hadn't even blinked in what felt like hours. And then, around 6:15 a.m., I heard it. Footsteps. Not walking this time. Running. A rapid shuffle from the kitchen, straight down the hall, and then slamming against my bedroom door. My heart punched through my chest. I jumped from the couch, tripping over the edge of the rug, phone in hand. The door didn't open. The footsteps stopped the second they hit it. Dead silence. I pulled up the hallway feed. And what I saw made me drop the phone. For just 2 seconds the hallway was filled with movement. Figures, more than one. Small, hunched, quick. Dozens of them, sprinting past the bathroom, the bedroom, the cameras. Blurry. Faceless. And then they were gone. No sound. No trace. Just one thing left behind. A single, greasy handprint on my bedroom door. Too small to be adult. Too human to be anything else. I stood there in the doorway of my bedroom, staring at that print, greasy, grayish, with 5 fingers too long for a child, but too narrow for an adult. It smeared slightly, like it had been left in a rush. And I could feel something behind it. Not presence exactly. More like pressure. Like the wall behind the door wasn't solid anymore. Like it had depth to it that shouldn't exist. I didn't go in. I grabbed my jacket, phone, wallet. Left everything else. Didn't even lock the door behind me. I just left. Drove until I found the first cheap motel off the highway and paid for a room in cash. Sat on the edge of a stiff mattress, staring at the pea-colored wallpaper, wondering what the hell had followed me home. And whether I'd brought it with me now. The feeds still worked. I watched them from the motel Wi-Fi. Cameras still rolling. Still recording. But the footage looked wrong now. Grainier. Colors muted. Like it was all happening underwater. Nothing moved for hours. Until just after midnight. I was watching front view when the woman returned. Same figure. Same long dark hair. But this time she wasn't alone. Behind her, crawling on all fours, were those small things I'd seen before. Shadows shaped like children but wrong in every way, too thin, limbs too long, heads cocked at impossible angles. She walked calmly toward the center of the room. Turned toward the camera. and smiled. It wasn't warm. It wasn't even human. Then she raised her hand and pointed, straight at the lens. The camera feed died. Then hallway went black. Then bedwatch. One by one, each feed shut down until only doorcam was left. The one I'd left pointing at my bedroom from the hallway. It stayed active. Recording. And that's when I saw it. On the footage, the bedroom door opened, slowly, silently. The lights inside were off, but the glow from the hallway spilled in just enough to show something, crawling out. Not walking. Crawling. Something that looked like me. Same hoodie. Same jeans. Same hair. But it moved wrong. Like its joints bent the wrong way. Like it wasn't used to wearing skin. It crawled into the hallway, turned its head toward the doorcam. And then the feed cut out. That was last night. Today, I woke up in the motel room to find my phone missing. My laptop gone. Everything I'd used to record them, scrubbed. But the door to the motel bathroom, it was open. And on the mirror, written in that same faint, impossible handwriting, was a new message. You left the door open. We let ourselves in. I don't know where to go now. I don't know if I can run far enough. But if you're reading this, if you have cameras in your home, watch them closely. And whatever you do, don't ignore the open doors.